Thank you for choosing to watch the Big Bear City Community Services District Board meetings, dated May 6, 2024 at 5 p.m. Before we begin, we'd like to provide a few facts you'll want to think about as you watch tonight's meeting. As a part of Big Bear Television's mission to unite the community, we are committed to providing factually correct information. First, since 2015, there has been continual Community Services District representation on the Replenish Big Bear project, with 2 CSD directors appointed each calendar year to serve on the Big Bear Area Regional Wastewater Agency Governing Board. Secondly, Rick Herrick is a current Big Bear Lake City Council member whose term expires in November of 2026. Jim Miller and Dave Lawrence have both been employed by the City of Big Bear Lake during their employment careers and not direct employees of Rick Herrick. Thirdly, detailed project budget, income, grants, and expenditures are transparent to the public and can be found on the Big Bear Area Regional Wastewater Agency's website. You can find these links in the information section of this posting. Next, the current budget for the Replenish Big Bear project is $64 million, with an increased contingency of $22 million for a total project cost of $86.7 million. The Environmental Protection Agency, who is providing the low-cost project loan, wanted to make sure that there was sufficient contingency worked into the total project cost. This language is in the Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act, Loan Terms and Conditions. Next, ratepayer sewer use fee for 2024 will change from $295.67 to $349.33 for an annual increase of $53.66. Agreements have been signed with the agencies that are providing grant funding for the Replenish Big Bear project. That is why the Big Bear Area Regional Wastewater Agency can apply it to their budget. An agreement has not yet been finalized between the county and CSD for the pending solid waste grant, and so cannot be reflected in the 2024-2025 budget. Big Bear's existing wastewater treatment processes will be upgraded with proven advanced treatment technology to produce approximately 800 million gallons of high-quality water each year that exceeds drinking water standards. Finally, the Sand Canyon Recharge Project will take program water stored in Big Bear Lake will be used for groundwater recharge at the Sand Canyon Recharge area over a 6-month dry weather period. This is the second phase of the project and will be undertaken by Big Bear Lake Department of Water and Power and not BARWA. Please keep these facts in mind as you watch tonight's meeting. If you have more questions about Replenish Big Bear, feel free to contact us and we will find out the information for you. Thank you for watching Big Bear Television. And now the May 6, 2024 meeting will begin.
I'd like to take roll. Morning.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Director Eagleson?
Here.
Director Walsh?
Here.
Director Ziegler?
Director Ziegler.
Are you here, Al? Yep.
Vice President Rowe?
Here. Presentation. Public comment on fiscal year 2024-25 budget. Jeanette.
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to start off by saying thank you to the board and to the public and to the staff for all of the input that's gone into the budget so far this year. It's greatly appreciated. Keep in mind that the changes that have occurred from the budget workshop until now are mostly just housekeeping items. I'd also like to mention that our FTE count is unchanged year over year, so that's always a good thing for the district. So we're going to do a quick rundown of the changes. So, yes, an FTE is a full-time equivalent, in other words, head count. Okay. So in our water fund, we had 2 resolutions that were passed that changed our adjusted budget for the fiscal year 23-24, which then in turn changed ending projected fund balance for this fiscal year, which changes the start for next year. And those 2 were for the state revolving fund loan for well 8A in the amount of $1.4 million, but it was a net impact of 0. There was 2 offsets, one in revenue and one in capital. And the other resolution you'll see flow through all of the departments, and it was for our server replacement project, and that's a $6,000 impact per department. We also had an audit adjustment on our CIP carryover for ADA. So that was a 3K adjustment divided by the 3 departments, so 1K per department, it's small. We also changed our pump improvement project for the GL coating to be consistent with past years. That's a net zero impact, it's just a coding change. Then we have updated administrative services expenses, and we'll get into the details of those, but it was a higher impact for all departments. Overall, we were able to lower our insurance impact due to our carriers coming back and being able to provide a more solidified quote. So that was a good thing. I think this is the first year since I've been here that the insurance carriers were able to give us the information in time for this meeting. So I thought, hey, we're heading in the right direction. And then we updated our salaries and related expenses for our more recent estimates to make sure that we sharpened our pencil. In the sewer fund, it was the same thing with the $6,000 change for the server. And then we also had the updated administrative services expenses and lower overall insurance as seen in the water department, as well as the changes in salaries and related expenses. In the solid waste fund, again, same thing, the $6,000 for the servers, as well as the CIP and ADA carryover for that audit adjustment, the updated administrative services expenses and the insurance, as well as our estimates for salaries and related expenses. And then in solid waste, as we're going through our route wear project this year with the installation into the trucks, we realized that we were going to need some additional equipment in order to install those next year when we get the 3 new trucks. So we added additional, they're called pounders is the name of the equipment. So we added additional pounder equipment as well as the corresponding annual maintenance that go along with each one of those. Then in our administrative services department, again, that's where that CIP audit adjustment had carried in for the $3,000. We also added additional legal fees based upon a very rough estimate of what I believe you guys will be discussing tonight, and then if I need to be advised of anything else, I would be. And then we lowered our overall insurance based upon that carrier quote again, so that was good. We also increased our maintenance for our mailers because we know that those costs are increasing. We updated the estimates for the salaries and the related expenses. But then the other thing is that we increased our postage by about $3,000 so that we could add return mail to the services that we receive from the post office so that we can, if we mail something out to someone and the address isn't correct, now it will come back to us so we can update our records. So then hopefully that should also help improve communications as well. So that was a summary of all of the changes that have occurred from the budget workshop. I didn't know if anyone had any questions.
What was a pounder?
A pounder is a piece of equipment that they install into the solid waste trucks. And literally it's a piece of equipment that they use their fist to pound on for...
Complete or not complete. So they don't have, so that the driver doesn't have to be messing with a touch screen tablet while they're driving. The pounder buttons are easier for them to operate while driving.
Kind of for each address?
Yes.
And when you said there was increased maintenance for mailers, is that meaning machine that folds, spindles, and mutilates?
Just the additional postage. So the annual, is there another line item?
It says increased maintenance for mailers.
Oh, so in order to change our annual notice process to get that return mail, we need to build a template into our mailing process, our software. And so that's a one-time fee.
Thank you.
Any questions from the directors? Any questions from the public?
Well, I just wanted to state that.
Can you step up to the microphone? And it's on this item, the budget.
Right, it's about the budget because I'm on Social Security and I'm not getting much of a price increase. While the cost of living is going up, I actually have to start cutting my expenses. And so I just pray that CSD and a lot of these other organizations will try to be more resourceful and get rid of any spam expenditures. Some of the things actually save us money and prevent an accident or something. I'm for that kind of stuff, of course. But I just wanted to state that. Thank you.
Thank you. Information items.
Wait a minute, hold on.
He's claiming.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Theodore Trentman, I'm a Big Bear City resident. I just was looking over the budget and noticed that in every category that you could go up in costs, you went up significant percentages. And I agree with you that expenses go up on projects year by year. So I just wanted to say as a community member that I see that in every category except for debt expenditures. We went up 3% in water services, actually 3.9%. We went up 14.5% in sewer services, 3.5% in solid waste. So my point is, lots of projects year by year go up in what we spend, correct? So I just want to say as a community member, I understand that, and I appreciate you guys doing all you can to make sure that we know the expenses that we have and that the community understands that year by year expenses go up, not usually down, just like our own home expenses.
You're gonna go?
Any other questions?
So this is comments that we can make about the budget, right?
Correct.
Okay. What I do notice at the solid waste services, that I don't see the money that was granted to us by the county. This started back in November, and then I pulled up an article from the Grizzly in February 14th of this year, and it said CSD is going to expand the solid waste collection. I'm still not seeing this money in the budget. I understand that it's taking some time, but this is beyond what it should be. So I hope that we have an update on this soon. Thank you.
Can I comment back on that?
Sure.
Okay. So according to GASB, which is Government Accounting Standards Board, and then GAAP, which is the generally accepted accounting principles, we cannot recognize revenue till recognizable.
Mhm.
And so therefore, I can't build it into the budget until I have a solidified letter from them and or a check paying us the money. However, when and if they do, what would happen is it would go back to the board for resolution, and if it got approved, then it would become an item that then gets reflected in that adjusted budget column every year. So really, it's a matter of timing.
Okay, I understand on your point. I'm saying that this is, by the time that this money actually is going back and forth and all this talking and all of this is, it's going to be a year. And I don't understand that at all. We need some things done, and I understand what you're doing with the budget. I'm directing this with the rest of the board. We just said they push this through and do whatever they need to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question about
Pardon?
May I ask a question about general manager? General manager,
Yes.
it would be safe to say, or fair to say that we're not mentioning that money because we don't have any money yet?
Next item after this one is an informational on the solid waste agreement, so I can go into greater detail then.
Thank you.
I already talked to him, I know.
Any other questions?
Just saying.
Okay. Informational items. Informational updates. Solid waste. County contract. That goes to Ted. There you go.
Thank you. As you're well aware, this process, and as just been mentioned, has been going on for a little while. We have held several community meetings. I've met with many interested parties, and we're working towards solutions for solid waste. Some of those will be incorporated into next year's budget that we've talked about, but what was brought up before is the agreement that we have to collaborate with the third district supervisor for some, they were planning on supporting us with some funds for us to do some extra programming. At the moment, that contract is, MOU is still in the discussion phase, in that The legal teams are going back and forth and just working out some minor points now, right to the end. I'm hoping that I can bring it to you by the next meeting, which is May 20, or the first meeting in June, for the board to ratify it. And we should be able to have it then included in next year's budget if it's all ratified properly and agreeable to both parties.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions? All right. Introduction of ordinances to be considered for adoption at public hearings on May 20th, 2024. Proposed ordinance must be introduced at a meeting prior to their adoption at the public hearing on May 20, 2024. The board may vote to waive the reading of the full ordinance. With a majority of vote, the ordinance will be introduced by reading only the title of the ordinance. Do I hear a motion and a second?
Move to waive the reading of the full text.
I'll second it.
Director Eagleson?
Aye.
Director Walsh?
Aye.
Director Ziegler?
Aye.
Vice President Rowe?
Aye.
Thank you.
The board's proposed ordinance 2024-03, an ordinance of the Big Bear City Community Service District adopting a written report regarding regional sewer user charges, sewer standby or availability charges, solid waste collection and disposal charges, sewer user charges, and water standby or availability charges for fiscal year 2024-25, and directing that such charges be collected on the tax roll. Board may take comments and consider amendments to the proposed ordinance at this time.
Am I correct in understanding that it says regional sewer user charges, those are the BBARWA fees?
Yes.
To clarify maybe that we collect them and then pass them on through to BBARWA. It doesn't go in our pocket, it just goes from the left hand to the right hand.
Or one pocket to the other. Okay, the minutes, regular minutes, April 1, 2024.
Okay.
What,
Public questions or comments?
any public comment
Okay,
or
I'm sorry.
questions at this time?
I'm sorry.
I don't completely understand why I'm being charged all these fees for water standby. And, I mean, I was being charged for it before I even hooked up to my water, so why am I'm on a well, but I'm being charged all these fees for water and all of these, I just don't understand. I'm gonna start researching this, because I don't think it's right that I'm being charged all of these fees for standby usage when I'm already paying for usage, or not, you know, or I'm not hooked up. It doesn't make any sense to me that you have all these extra fees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Channel managers?
Joyce, if you'd like, we can meet and I can go through your
I'd love that.
invoice and so forth.
I would love that. Thank
I'll
you.
hand you my card again at the end of the meeting, so you can contact either way and we can set up a time.
Thank you. Yeah. He sees I'm trying to learn.
Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. Just to clarify, this ordinance is to place these fees on the tax roll, I take it, and this is, I believe this is done every year, isn't it? So
Correct.
this is a reauthorization that these fees, this does not include the increases or anything, it's just an ordinance to place the fees on the tax roll. Is that correct?
Yes, we do this each year. The board accepts the current fees that we're proposing for next year each time. So it's done at this time each year to be beginning of the next fiscal year.
And so the fees that are collected, those are a different action by the board. This is just placing them on the
So that they
tax
can be placed on the tax roll.
on the tax roll. Thank you for that.
Marty?
That's where I thought that was.
So Joe, just to
Yes.
comment on that, the fees were done by resolution, I believe on the March 20th meeting.
Yes.
This is placing them on the tax roll, and the hearing for the placement on the tax roll is actually the next meeting on May 20th.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for that, because that's what I thought. It was, the fees were agreed upon already, and that was the resolution. And this is the introduction of the
First reading.
ordinance. And if somebody wants to speak on that at the next meeting in 30 days.
Yeah.
Can we do this why?
Uh,
Why we put it on the tax roll?
For collection purposes. Makes it easier. More specific answer, or is that good enough?
It's a more efficient way of collecting the charges for services than the CSD May.
So rather than have somebody here folding stuff, every envelope and mail it out and all that, we let the county do it because they're already sending the bills out. And then if it doesn't get paid, they have a mechanism to eventually get payment, which saves us attorney's fees.
Correct.
Okay. Consent calendar approval. A, minutes, regular meeting, April 1st, 2024. B, cash, checks, distribution, and credit card purchases, March 2024. $208,730 and 65 cents. C, proposed resolution 2024-05. A resolution of the Board of Directors of the Big Bear City Community Service District adopting local guidelines for implementing the California Environmental Quality Act, Public Resource Code. Any public comments?
I just want to know where I can find this information so I can research it. This resolution, where can I find it?
Glenn?
It's in the minutes, in that packet you've got there.
Okay.
Yes.
I need,
I mean, not the minutes, the agenda packet, sorry.
thank you.
Wrong use of term.
As per motion,
Did you have a public comment, Tommy? You?
I have a public comment, but I don't know if it's on the right subject right now. I'm going to talk about the water conservation thing. I'm going to talk about that.
No, it's not this one then.
Yeah,
It's
okay, well, when it's time.
Okay, sorry about the interrupt. I thought-
That's all right.
Public comment.
Sorry about that. I can't hear very well.
motion and a second.
I'll make a motion, please.
I'm sorry,
I'll second.
Okay.
Director Eagleson,
Aye.
Director Walsh,
Aye.
Director Ziegler,
Aye.
Vice President Rowe,
Aye. Request for continuance. There are no requests for continuance. Items removed from the consent calendar for discussion. There were no items to remove from the calendar.
Right.
Committee and board member reports. The following standing committees met since the last board meeting. BBFA, April 9th. BBFA, April 17th. BARWA, April 24th. Water, April 29th. And BBFA, April 30th. Glenn?
Several meetings, as you indicated, since our last one. At the Fire Authority meeting of April 9th, they recognised staff, had a presentation on a North Shore fuel reduction program that's on US Forest Service land. They voted to support the program. They voted on the Winslow lease that we're connected with through the old fire station out in Auburn Lake. They approved an audit firm to do an audit for them, and they went into closed session to discuss items. The April 17th Fire Authority meeting, they discussed the preliminary budget for the 24-25 fiscal year. BARWA had a meeting on April 24th. It outlined the status and steps on ongoing replenish discussion. They talked about the EIR and draft responses, grant monies received, the acceptance of SOPA of the waste discharge requirement application. They approved their consent items, They had carryover information regarding possible options for vote or informative information regarding the replenish project, either for November election or other methods. They did not come away with any direction to the GM on which model to choose. But they were talking about phone polls being an ideal direction, but nothing was given to the GM to do anything further on that one. CSD had a water committee meeting where Jerry, the water superintendent, presented the committee information on rainfall amounts, trends, well depths and production levels compared to the rainfall amounts. And the fire authority had a April 30 meeting. They created a mission statement, a vision motto. Sorry, it was a committee meeting, I meant to say. They created a two-step triage option with step 1 being implemented hopefully within 1 to 2 years, though hoping step 2 was a 2 to 5 year time frame. They gave direction to continue work towards the strategic plan, and they gave direction to bring ideas for a strategic financing option. Any questions on any of those meetings?
Back on the April 24th BBARWA meeting, I don't think we approved all the consent items.
No. The minutes were not approved. They will carry over to the next meeting to be discussed.
Thank you.
Okay. Staff report. Receive and file. General manager's report. Directors, any questions?
I have a question. So Glenn, I noticed in your recap of the month,
Yes.
you had, I think, 1, 2, 3, actually 4 virtual meetings with, it looks like the consultants from Replenish Big Bear and
Yes.
say our Replenish Big Bear partners. Can you tell us what occurred in those meetings?
It's just discussion of questions that have been brought up by the board members at BBARWA and progress reports on the EIR and the answering of questions towards that EIR coming I can't remember the term for when it's finalized.
Certification.
What's the term? Certification of the EIR, which is being discussed for either the next meeting or the meeting after that.
Any other?
GIS. Don't we already use GIS?
Yes, this was just an informational.
More enhanced?
No, Esri, a company that basically is the GIS format for everything, were reaching out to us. They have been working with DWP and they've changed over to use them. We use a company that we're quite happy with at the moment that has Esri as a underlying function. So this was more of a reaching out, trying to get our business from CSD, from our normal method. At this present time, I don't think we would move in that direction.
And then the second page where it's kind of in the middle of the page where it talked about the Government Affairs, Roads and Traffic Advisory Committee group. At the Fire Authority, there was some discussion about creating an agency that would bring everybody together for emergencies. Did you guys have a chance to discuss the fact that already exists?
We have two that actually do similar function, the Mountain Mutual Aid and then this GIRTAC. They have slightly different memberships, but CSD is involved in both of them. But these would, it'd be just creating a third agency to do the same thing that probably wouldn't have everyone involved. So it'd be 3 different groups meeting about the same thing.
Instead of reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
And who are Graves and King?
They are the legal representation from Sedgwick, which is our group through CJPIA, related to session later on this evening during closed session.
Okay, never mind. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can you meet these organizations you're talking about for emergency?
It's called the, it's in the packet there if you look under the general manager. I can go through it at the end of the meeting with you.
All right, thank you.
All right, unfinished business. Notice hearings, discussion, and possible action. There is no unfinished business items at this time. New business adoption agenda, discussions, notice hearing, discussion, and possible action. There is no new business items at this time. Non-agenda public comment. Are there any public comments?
You want to go first?
You missed your opportunity.
I don't care. Everyone wants to go first? I wanted to hear what everybody else said so I could change what I'm going to say according to what you guys are
I'll go
saying.
first then.
Okay, because
And I just wanted to thank you guys for the board for taking into consideration our constitutional rights when you, with the Replenish Big Bear, when you had said that it should be a vote for us, or you wanted to take, you know, our comments into consideration. And I appreciate that because it's really frustrating when our government just does things without our permission. So I just want to thank you and to continue to keep us in mind.
Thank you.
I'll go.
next if everybody else.
I'll go.
Sorry, Tim.
Based on what she just said, again, I'm Theodore Trentman. I thought it was interesting tonight when we were going over the agenda. We were at the proposed resolution, a resolution of the Board of Directors of Big Bear City's Community Services District adopting local guidelines for implementing the California Environmental Quality Act. Nobody, no public comment, no comments from administration or the board. But let me tell you what that actually is. The California Environmental Quality Act, which no one had a comment about, is the California statute passed in 1970 and signed into law by then Governor Ronald Reagan shortly after the United States federal government passed the National Environmental Policy Act to institute a statewide policy of environmental protection. CEQA does not directly regulate land uses, but instead requires state and local agencies within California to follow a protocol of analysis and public disclosure of environmental impacts of proposed projects, and in departure from NEPA, adopt all feasible measures to mitigate those impacts. CEQA makes environmental protection a mandatory part of every California state and local agency's decision-making process. So I just want to, we all agree, no one even said anything to be a part of conserving water in our state. That is a part of being a Californian, whether you said anything or not. I attended the water committee meeting the other day, and I asked, I forget his name, Jerry, about whether Replenish Big Bear will impact Big Bear City in a positive or negative way. And his response was, I don't know. I said, well, what if we pump all the groundwater into the ground and we fill the, what do you always say? Aquifers. Will that help us? He said, I don't know. So I said, well, wouldn't it make sense for you to reach out to Replenish Big Bear and, ask them whether or not this program might be beneficial to the community? He said, what did he say? He kind of just nodded and got nervous. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it wasn't, I'll call them. So I just, want to remind people that this is about having water, about planning ahead of time so that we have a sustainable community and that we're not left with our pants down. Yeah, but we don't know if it's gonna help us or not.
It's probably not.
Yeah, well, we don't know is the
Comments,
answer.
please, no comments, only public comments to the board.
Yeah, they were making them.
Tom Sitton, and the California Clean Water Act does need to be renewed and listened to because I believe that it has a lot to say about what our situation is. Okay, this is to the CSD, Community Service Department, okay? It's time to take the gloves off and use the good old First Amendment, the old-fashioned First Amendment, freedom of speech, because that's what I'm going to do. First of all, we would like to commend our CSD board on having the courage to stand up to the BARWA's triad of destruction to our Big Bear Valley's water aquifer and to our economy, because that's what they're going to do. In a recent article by Christina Nellis, I can't even say her last name, March 28, 24, 3 call for pause on replenish Big Bear Grizzly. The author writes that the retiring elected officials and BARWA Vice Chair Rick Herrick, his former employee BARWA Jim Miller, BARWA Vice Chairman Jim Miller, and his former employee BARWA General Manager David Lawrence are once again in lockstep pounding the table in favor of moving a project forward without a budget. Who we would have to pay for it and be stuck with it forever, even if we wanted it, period. A small town triad of assumed power trying to Bigfoot the public and the regular folks on the board, which is you and us, me, period. Okay, just a little note. 3 call for the pause on replenish. Mr. John Russo, flat no. Larry Wash, tough, hard questions. They couldn't even answer half of them. They didn't even know. Kenny Segovia says maybe we should take a vote. Well, yeah, we sure should take a vote. Of course we should before we spend $900,000, whatever the number is. And first of all, I heard different numbers that I'm going to be saying. But I would like to look at the video that you're supposed to have so I could actually see what the numbers were. Because I heard something different. Okay. BARWA's David Lawrence stated, and I'm going to use this number, okay? He has been working on this project for 9 years. Maybe you can tell me it's less or more, whatever it is. I heard 9 years. And has accumulated a $9 million debt. I don't know what the real debt is, and we don't even know what the real cost of the project is going to be because nobody really even knows the real prices. None of our citizens voted on or even approved this project to be started. Nobody said it was okay. Sure, Dave, go ahead, spend the money. So he's already spent a whole bunch of money. Now we have to pay for that. And it's already in our new bill. They say something about a new $250 extra a year that we're all going to be paying. For what? He, David, states, we cannot stop the water project. Oh my God, we have to stop this water project. We need the grant money. Oh, we got to have that grant money. We only have 3 months to get the grant money. Or we are going to lose it and need to have decided right now. Give us the money. Okay, well, tough titty, said the kitty. $9 million for what? Wow. Piss poor preparation makes for piss poor performance, and that's what's happening here. And that again, I want to thank you guys for what you have done, because I'm mad at BARWA, period. BARWA board member Kenny Segovia said we need to vote on the water project. We agree 100%. However, day late, dollar short. We should have done that 8 years ago before they even started the project. Why did BARWA's triad not think of that then? Why didn't they think about getting a vote before? Why didn't they ask us to see if it was okay? Maybe because they know we would not want a $150 million debt. And I know you guys say, oh, it's not that much. Well, bullshit. When you see the real price of it, all of a sudden there's $9 million or more extra. Nobody knows how much this is really going to cost. And this money to destroy our water aquifer that has been supplying our water for the last 200 years. It's also going to destroy our drinking water, our spring water. It's going to destroy all the wells and the whole thing. They're going to be pumping wastewater into our water aquifer.
Oh, no.
We are united in this matter, okay? And I believe me, I'm on your guys' side right now, because we are united in this matter. We support our CSD to the end of the biggest Big Bear boondoggle ever. Boondoggle, it's a new word for me. It means is an unnecessary, wasteful, and fraudulent project, and this is wasteful and fraudulent, period. Hats off to our CSD board for making the right decision to act against the water project. We would like the CSD board to join us. Please, come and go to the city meeting with us, talk. Because I hear you guys say that we don't want this, we don't want it, and you are the only people that want it. We're done.
Time.
Okay, anyway, join us, it's only 5 p.m. to stop water project. Thank you for your consideration. Tom Sitton, WeThePeople.com.
Thank you, Jeff.
Mr. Chairman, please.
Any others for public comment?
I've already done it. Oh, somebody else's turn.
Hello, Christina Nels, former reporter for the Grizzly. And let me tell you, you don't realize how important your First Amendment right is until somebody tries to take it away from you. Amen. One of the last things I did at the Grizzly is made sure that I put up a vote tally with a question on what people in this valley really truly think of Replenish Big Bear. And this was kind of a follow-up from the one I did about a year ago, Director Walsh. You had talked about that several times, and I wanted to get a bigger feel for what residents thought. And looking at the statistics today, 69.5% of people in the valley are either against it, were told that this was a different project, and they don't agree with the project as it's going, or really had no major opinion either way. Only 26.4% of people are in favor of this project. I think that there are lots of educational campaigns that people, other residents who understand the project more than maybe some, have been engaging on as comments come up on Facebook. But it still amazes me that we have people here that still want to say that this is a conservation of water program. There's nothing conservation of water in here. It's wastewater that is being treated and put into the aquifers. That's it. The cleanliness, I guess you could say, or if you want to get into the scientific analysis of it, I was told was over 200 parts per million on the total dissolved solids for the water that was coming from Replenish Big Bear. Well, Mother Nature was bringing in 6 total dissolved solids to the lake. Seems like Mother Nature is doing a much better job than what Replenish Big Bear is going to do. After 9 years of this project, we are being fear-mongered. 9 years of this project.
That's what I thought.
We're being fear-mongered, and the people that are speaking for us are each one of you. And I have grown impressed every time I go to the meetings and somebody is asking a question. What is this for? Who's going to pay for that? I have learned an enormous amount of money over this project is being spent on, I have no idea. I just know that it's an enormous amount of money, but I have absolutely no idea what they're spending it on. If we can't even put things in the budget that we're going to get, we know we're going to get it in 3 to 6 months, why is Replenish Big Bear allowed to talk about all the potential, quote unquote, grant money that they're getting? They're telling people that they've gotten almost $17 million worth of grant money when they really only received 9. There's no money in the bank. So again, when you go through and you take a look at what people are saying about these comments, I think people were sold a bill of goods for a program that they didn't understand themselves, and now we're finally starting to get the word out. And I thank each and every one of you up here because it has been a crap job, no pun intended, from the beginning, and you're getting a lot of negative attention heaped upon you, and I just grow more and more impressed with each of you as I get to go through this process with you, and I thank you for representing your constituency, which is something I don't see in this valley very often. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
That's all of you. Any other comments?
So, I was really interested in this environmental report that he was talking about from 1970, because that is the very thing that is trying to make us have this plant. And the thing is that at the meeting when I was listening, the BARWA meeting, I was listening to Lawrence talk about all these other plants within they're in our district because they're talking about them because they're a part of the Santa Ana watershed that we're being lumped in with this replenish. He has all these other plants that he's putting in all over the place, and we're just one of them. They have a whole organization because BARWA's not legally allowed to put it in the lake or put it in the ground, so they have to create a new organization called Replenish, and they're advertising, they have brochures, we're spending all our money for them to sell us these goods for a sustainable replenish, and it's none of those things at all. The real replenish would be to put it back in the ground through the proper, taking it away from our wells and stuff, far enough out into the forest and the leach fields or the septic tanks. And I know it's proven the best way for it to go down through the ground, and Mother Nature can clean the water better before it could ever get back into our our aquifers that we're collecting our well water from. And then it cleans it before it gets down into the lake. That is a project, but I can tell you that I know contractors that could do that. Let me get my glasses on. It really boils down, because I actually got a hold of some people at the Forest Service. And they basically said that, let me find I got the wrong piece of paper here. I wonder I couldn't find what I was looking for. They had to get a special use proposal. And you still need to meet county and municipal codes, which we don't want to meet that 1970 code that says we can't put the regular gray water in the ground to go down through the aquifers. The whole project is to purify the water under the new environmental codes that you guys seem to want to adopt that I don't, because I think there's flaws to it. They're trying to force us to do things. We can choose to do the right thing on our own without the state of California trying to tell us what, some environmental report that we have to follow. We have to do what's best for us. The state, we also might have to petition the state to allow our gray water. They haven't adopted it yet, according to what I was hearing. I'm not sure, but that's the thing that we're going to have to fight, because we can get a special use. So I want to know if anybody has actually addressed doing this and how much it would cost about getting this proposal, because it's a solution. And BARWA can actually replenish our water. Everything that they say that they're going to do is all a lie. And because of that fact, I think that their whole contract should be canceled. Over. Replenish Big Bear, over. It needs to be stopped. As I'm hearing, they're continuing. They're not listening to CDC. They're saying, well, we have contracts. We're going to do it anyway. Well, if that's the case, then we need to say that they have lied to us and cancel the project. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other comments?
Can I make another?
Patrice Duncan, Sugarloaf. I'm not even sure where to begin at this point. CSD directors, I would like to remind all of you that you have been involved with this project from the very beginning. Replenish Big Bear. We've had 2 CSD directors serve on the board for 9 years. This information has been given to the CSD, and this information has been given to the public. The fact that the public just decides to pay attention now is another story. I want to thank Mr. Walsh, Director Walsh, and Director Russo for questioning, and the entire CSD board, questioning Dave Lawrence about some of the things that were happening with the Whitfield loan. I think it's good that we get clarification about what the project means to the valley, and I appreciate the fact that the community is paying attention now. But everyone here who has spoken against the project has spoken with incorrect information. So I would ask the board to please make sure that you do your diligence. There is a budget. There is detail of how the money's been spent so far. There is information on how it's impacting the valley. I do share Director Walsh's concern about the fact that the water is just being dumped into the lake and CSD has to buy the water back if it needs it, which we've paid to clean it. So I hope that there's discussions in closed session, and I hope that there would be a sewer subcommittee meeting so that we can be involved in the CSD side before it goes back to BARWA to understand what options are available for us to take that water prior to it going into the lake, because I agree with Director Walsh, we should not have to buy it back. We've paid to clean it, it is ours, and whether you guys take it before it gets to the lake, or whether there's some agreement made with MWD to get X amount of dollars back, or X amount of water back free of charge because we paid to clean it. Also want to clarify that the way the project stands, there is no poop water going into the aquifers. Again, directors, please educate yourself. The information that was said to you today is 100% wrong. All the information that these people are saying was never sent to them has been available from day one. They just chose not to pay attention. So again, I hope there's going to be a sewer subcommittee prior to the next BARWA meeting so that the community has input on Director Walsh's concerns and Director Russo's concerns before they go back to the BARWA subcommittee. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Boo?
All right, that's it. Ready for
Boo, I didn't say
closing
boo, I
comments?
said boo. Boo, I didn't like what she said.
One bit at
so I
the
said
car.
boo.
For being correctly informed?
Comments only directed to the
Oh, I'm
board.
sorry.
You need the extra notes?
I would like to thank all of the staff who work so hard in service to the community. I know I put you through your task with my requests, and those mostly go through Ms. Shabad, and I appreciate her work. And thank you for the countdown timer. It really helps the speakers know how much time they have. And of course, Glenn is riding herd on all this that's going on. So thank you, staff, and especially thank you to the board, each and every one of you, Director Walsh, Director Ziegler, Director Rowe, Director Russo is not here, and Director Eagleson. Thank you all for the position that you've taken in service to your constituents.
The only ones.
It is refreshing, as someone said earlier, that a board is actually representing its constituents. It is kind of rare around here, and I thank you for that. I think it's getting pretty obvious that Replenish Big Bear as a project does not serve the CSD customers. Replenish Big Bear does not produce any water that will be going into any aquifer. It sends water to the lake. CSD has no business with water going into the lake. CSD takes care of solid waste, sewer rather, and domestic water. It sends sewage to BARWA for primary treatment. BARWA's mission is the primary treatment of sewage. It does not have the legal authority to recharge groundwater. It is not a domestic water agency. David Lawrence has admitted this. He has said repeatedly in open meetings, all we can do is dispose of the water. Dispose of the water, the effluent, basically. It has no authority to do anything other than that with the water. And that's why I was at the water committee meeting last Monday, and that's why Jerry Griffin, the water supervisor, that's why he couldn't answer the question, because BARWA cannot tell him anything other than they are disposing of effluent. And it doesn't matter what level it is treated sewage. So whatever you want to call it. So if CSD recognizes its duty and that Replenish Big Bear does not serve its customers, benefit its customers, that brings us to another legal realization. If there's no benefit, if there's no service provided, then those fees are not fees, they are taxes. Under Proposition 218, a fee can only be charged if it's associated with a direct service. There is no service going to CSD customers, therefore that is an illegal tax for them to increase so-called sewer fees. It's taxes, and they should not be paid. CSD, I suggest, should have an ordinance or at least a resolution that states that CSD customers do not benefit from Replenish Big Bear, and resolve that it shall not pay the increased fees to BARWA for Replenish Big Bear. And that will be another indicator of fact. And we need to take BARWA back to its primary mission, which is primary treatment of sewage. Anything that comes out of there, out of BARWA, is treated sewage. I don't care how much it's treated. And another thing is, I would hope that this CSD board will take action to have all meetings of committees and the board meetings recorded for posterity. At least audio video would be better. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I'm just going to say a few things, and quite honestly, what's become really apparent is that a lot of people don't understand, including myself, the full scope of what this project is and what it's going to do. What I can say, though, is we have a treatment plant to treat all of our drinking water, whether it be sewage, water runoff, which has all kinds of chemicals and pollutants and oil, and there's terrible things that go into our water system. And BARWA is responsible for treating it, getting it down to certain parts per million to make it safe. They have created something where this sewage water is going to be drinkable. It's going to be that pure. So this thing about putting sewage into something, and also the fact that we think that we can just go out and drink water after it's filtered through and it's going to be safe for drinking, that is not true. Is it cleaner? Is it better than how it ran off and into the ditches before we reclaim it? Yes. But water does need to be treated. I do also believe that there should be a subcommittee. I believe that people from the public should be on it. I believe that it should have all of the parties that are involved in making this final decision and the public. Let us sit down, let us answer these questions, because what happens at the BARWA meetings, and even sometimes these meetings, is you get all the information and it brings up more questions, and then you're not allowed to talk about it. You either have to talk about it, you know, things that are on the agenda, and so we don't have this free flow that goes. I think that there's a lot more information that needs to be shared, and that's my part. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Director's closing comments, announcement of coming events. Any directors have any closing?
I'll let him start, if that's okay.
All right.
First of all, I'd like to echo Mr. Kelly's stance on recording meetings. I think it's something we need to move forward on. I know there's been a lot of discussion about storage, whatever. All I know is BARWA's doing it, and I think they have a YouTube channel. So I'd like us to look into whatever BARWA's doing, because it seems like they don't have the problem with storage and being able to handle it. Relatively inexpensive with these cameras that are called the OWL, and I believe one OWL could work pretty well here in this room. Secondly, I want to talk about the course of events that most of you folks are talking about tonight, Replenish Big Bear. And I'm going to talk about the timeline, talk about some things that happened, and then some closing thoughts. So this all started on February 19th of 2024 when David Lawrence came here to have us sign an amendment to a WIFIA loan. And we, for lack of a better term, we kicked it down the road to the next meeting. Okay. During the February 19th meeting, all the directors had several questions for Mr. Lawrence. I know I had plenty. I wanted to know about, is there an agreement with the lake? Is there an agreement with the resorts? What's the return in investment for our constituency? I anticipated to have those questions answered. Tonight is May 6th.
Correct.
Nothing. And so let's talk about that. So we had the March 4th meeting, okay? Rather than coming with answers to the question, it was back on our agenda. I had to handle it telephonically because I was in Illinois in business. But several folks in the audience sent me pictures. No answers. They came in and had people step up to the podium to speak about it. And just we're deaf to, they're deaf to my concerns, at least my concerns and my colleagues' concerns. And so this time we voted it down 5-0. It wasn't kick can down the road, it's like, we're not doing it, okay? And so you think things, they would want to get our questions answered to try to get the no's to a yes, makes sense. They've had several meetings. They created a subcommittee meeting just for Replenish Big Bear. They've had special meetings, they've had regular meetings. And admittedly, I haven't been able to attend because of other business. I did attend one of them. But I have looked at the minutes. No one's talking about the concerns of this, what CSD had that night. I'm confused. It doesn't make sense. These were pretty simple things to answer, so why aren't they answering? What they did instead was escalate the problem, okay? Straight up escalated the problem. For example, BARWA staff made contact with their connections in the city or in the Big Bear Valley, and got the Firefighters Association to write a letter, which wasn't on their letterhead and which wasn't signed by the union president, sent to all 10 board of directors of the fire board because we consist of the CSD and the city council. So shortly after, within 30 minutes of receiving the letter, I got a call from the person that was supposedly authored that letter and asked me my thoughts, and I said, well, you didn't check with anybody, so I'm not sure what you're doing. He immediately wrote a retraction, and he sent it to everybody he sent the initial letter to. Now, I mentioned that because at one of the BARWA meetings, Bridget Burton read the letter, the first letter, of how he was supporting Replenish Big Bear. There's any projects that come along. I should say 2 bullets for projects. So I'm not sure what the other projects are, but that's what's in. You can get it. It's online. Pull it up and look at it. But here comes the question. Would you say a project that gives you less than 25% of the water into an aquifer, a groundwater sustainability plan? I don't think so. Thank you.
Okay.
I would like our audience to know that instead of being here another 20 minutes down the line, I completely support Mr. Eagleson's philosophy on this subject. And I also would like to have you know from the first meeting that BARWA ever had, and hell, that was before time, I opposed the project from the beginning. Where I sit here today, I'm not, in what I'm gotten to say right this minute, I apologize, I'm getting old. But let me tell you something, I'm very proud of the people I serve with here. And I'm not speaking for all of them. I'm only speaking for myself at this point. Not too long ago, I come up with the idea that I didn't understand why in the hell the city council or even this board has this on their shoulders to make decisions of plus and minus when it comes to BARWA. And I'm a strong believer that if you take the people in this community, I've been here a long time, clear from '74. They're very knowledgeable, they know what they want, they know what they don't want. And the bottom line, if you was going to ever do anything like this, it belongs on the register of voters, and we vote yes or we vote no. The citizens, not us, not city council. And I'll be truthful with you. I'm damn tired of BARWA trying to tell me, Al Ziegler, what to do. How to think, how not to think.
You're leaving.
And there's a few people at the city council level that feel the same. Quit trying to shove something down my neck when I don't like it. Okay, so thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for attending the meetings. And the ones of you that got up and spoke tonight, thank you very much.
You're leaving a legacy for all of us.
Anything there?
We, as board members, go through a basic training course called the Special District Leadership Academy that has 4 topics. Mr. Rowe just finished his, and in the same week I attended a 3rd tier. His topics were things like finance, ethics, governance. The track I went through was predominantly finance, and I'm thinking that the Special District Leadership Academy, which is adjunct to CSDA, is acknowledging that money, finance, budgets, spending only what you bring in, have all become more important topics. And so, while Bob got different topics, mine predominantly was finance, over and over, from different perspectives, different auditing firms, different attorneys' firms, etc. But one thing that is usually primary in their focus is that we as board members have only one employee. It's our general manager. Everybody else in the district answers to the general manager. And I think you can see where if you get too many cooks in the kitchen, somebody's bound to spoil the broth. And so it's a case of, while we are responsible to the community, we're supposed to primarily set policy and oversee expenditures, the actions of the district. So I can see, or I would hope others will see, that Jerry, as the water superintendent, and that is his bailiwick, is our domestic water supply, is kind of put in a tight spot there, where if you ask him whether this is good or bad, are you asking him his personal opinion? And is it even appropriate for him to give his personal opinion when he's sitting as the superintendent? He answers to Glenn. And so he's probably being at least cautious in saying, I don't know, because you're asking him to evaluate the whole project from different perspectives. He knows what he's talking about. He came up with all these charts to explain to people our good years, our bad years. And it all drills down to where we can count on about 14.7 to 14.9 inches of rain a year. But if you want an opinion as to whether this is good or bad, that falls on his boss, Glenn, who counsels the board, and then we're in a position, if 2 of us sit on BARWA and all 5 of us sit on fire, that's how it becomes our burden to decide when a budget's adequate, excessive, or inadequate. A gentleman at the I guess it was the last BARWA meeting, got up and said that the responsibility to make these decisions lies in the laps of the 5 people that were up on the podium. 2 from the city, 2 from the CSD, 1 from the county. Okay, he's right. But I also think that I should be careful to listen, even if it's the same letter 24 times. We have people with other opinions. And I have to look at the data that has been given to us, and it doesn't take a hydraulic engineer or a civil engineer or whatever to look at the numbers and go, there is no way to drought-proof the valley using this project. And so my question backs up and says, well, then why does it say that in the environmental impact report? Now, environmental impact reports are not just for water projects. They're for anything that might impact, especially deleteriously, long-term, what have you. It's forcing agencies to start hiring consultants, writing these reports, giving the information to the public of this is what we want to do and these will be the consequences. It's even things like how much carbon will be put in the atmosphere out of the exhaust of the equipment digging the holes. How many rubber boas or bird-footed checker bloom will be damaged in the process of putting in a line from BARWA to Division. So there's more to it than just freshwater. It's holding the feet of agencies like ours to the fire to tell the public that this is what we want to do with your money and this is what we expect it to do. And so you should be at least alerted and participating in the decisions. I thank Jerry, if you will pass along to him. I thought he did. I sat through the water meeting. I'm not a member, so I can't speak. I can sit in the back of the room and just listen. And I thought it was worthwhile to be here. He did all these studies. He shows where we've been, where we're going. I think some people missed some of his comments about the fact that we are moving away from state regulations that say each of us will be allowed 55 gallons of water a day. Then they want to take it down to 52, then to 50. And I just read a state output that says they're aiming for us to each only be allowed to use 42 gallons of water a day. Now that means brush, flush, and wash your car, laundry, whatever, total. So you may start thinking about not having a yard anymore. And since we're in Southern California, which originally was a desert, that's probably appropriate. Swimming pools might be out. The fire authority just spent $14,000 putting in AstroTurf, the #1 station, and when you go by, you can't even see it. It's because it's out back, and I was told that the justification was they wanted somewhere for the ladies in the office to take their breaks. If you combine that with spending over $4,000 buying new barbecues for each station, you can see that the combined expenditures there would have purchased 2 radios for the guys. So then I have to look at what's the priority, what's the importance here. And you compound it when you find out that AstroTurf is a source of forever chemicals which are contaminating our groundwater, our food, and our bloodstreams. I learned multitasking from my mother. And any woman who runs a house and can get all the plates on the table hot is good at multitasking. And she showed me the connections. And so yes, I have to look at what we're doing. Does the left hand even know what the right hand's doing? And the consequences of each of these acts. Many of those form letters pointed out that we in BARWA are supposed to be answering the needs of the entire community, okay? Their perspective is, if I make my living from real estate, you owe me that. But I also have to say, I need to remember that there are people out there who don't make their living from real estate, don't make their living based on water in the lake or how many blue herons we have and how cute the otters are. Ultimately, are we going to get what the project says, which is keep the water in the valley? Okay? But at what cost? And if you're going to keep it in the valley, as the one young lady pointed out, is that water going to go back into the aquifer from which it came? And if we treat all the water that CSD sends to the plant, then turn it around and pump it all over to Division and dump it in the swamp, none of that water went back in our aquifers. So that's why I have to look at it and say, what is the benefit to the CSD people? Those are the people that elected me to watch out for their best interests. Thank you.
Thank you. No other comments? We're going to go into closed session. Okay, we're going to talk with labor negotiations.
Well, he doesn't represent me. Not my opinion.
So they're going to do recording of all these different